In the world of filmmaking in 2025, especially for new filmmakers, creativity can start to seem like it costs more. Whether it's from the advancement of technology or the current inflation and tariff situation in our economic climate, prices for gear, especially cameras, seem to be increasing at a very extreme rate. These types of dynamics can really discourage filmmakers from really pursuing that vision that they have. So today I just want to talk about and break down 5 particular cameras that, in my opinion, serve as the best cameras for filmmakers, whether you're beginners or prosumers under $1,000, which I feel at this price point is sort of the best baseline for filmmakers to get a price to performance ratio on what they invest in. The first one we'll get into is a camera that's been around for a couple of years, and that's the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, specifically the Mark II and not the Mark I. This is one of Sony's hybrid style bodies that was definitely catered towards vloggers and content creators, and anyone who's done some more extensive research on this camera knows that this is pretty much a carbon copy of the Sony FX30 and A6700 from an internal perspective, meaning it's sporting the same 26 megapixel sensor, has all of the same codecs. You're definitely getting Sony's reliable autofocus with real-time tracking. It's compact and lightweight for handheld shooting, but still riggable if you're into that sort of thing. It also comes with USB Type-C charging as well as streaming support with that USB-C port. And it also uses the same battery as the A6700 and FX30. Some of the downsides you're going to run into this camera is that you don't have internal stabilization. However, you do have electronic stabilization, which will crop in on your sensor a little bit. This is a camera you can do a lot of hybrid stuff with, but you're not getting a viewfinder, so it is going to be a drawback for anyone who's wanting to get into photography with this camera. And with the APS-C sensor, you're limited in some of the dynamic range that you can get compared to its full frame counterpart, the ZV-E1. So in terms of price, this camera sits at around $1,100 brand new, but you can find this camera for around $900 to probably $850 on the used market if you look hard enough. And I would consider this probably one of the most reliable and user-friendly cameras on this list. But for someone who's looking for more of a prosumer style camera with a little bit more capabilities, they may want to consider the next camera on this list, which is the Panasonic Lumix S5. This is one of Panasonic's full frame options that they feature in their hybrid lineup. So you're getting a 24 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor that can put out 4K 60 frames per second at a 10-bit codec. You're getting a dual native ISO of 640 and 4000, making it a very capable low light camera. You're also getting the best in-body stabilization in the business with Lumix's patented 5-axis IBIS system, making this a literal dream for a lot of the handheld shooters out there. And it also offers dual IS with certain specific lenses. You're getting 14 stops of dynamic range with Panasonic's V-Log color profile, and it also offers dual SD card slots for more secure recording. You're also essentially future-proofing yourself with this camera because it also offers raw footage output via the HDMI. Some downsides to this camera is that the autofocus just isn't good, so you are going to be manual focusing a lot of your shots. This camera is also part of the L-mount alliance, so lens options for this camera are going to be very limited. However, from a price perspective, this is also a camera that you can find online right now for about $800 to $850, maybe even $900 on the used market. The next camera is one of my favorites on this list and single-handedly changed the way I look at filmmaking as a whole from the time that I had it. It's also the first cinema camera we're going to be talking about on this list, and that camera is going to be the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. You're getting about 13 to 14 stops of dynamic range here. You're getting a dual native ISO of 400 and 3200. You're getting raw and ProRes recording options. You also get a 5-inch touchscreen and mini XLR input, and you can also record externally with this camera via USB-C. With this camera, you're getting cinema grade image quality with raw workflow flexibility, decent but not great low light performance. Also, its Blackmagic RAW format works natively with DaVinci Resolve Studio. So for someone wanting more control over their footage in post, this is a great option. It also uses the Micro Four Thirds system, so you're getting a lot of lens options with this camera. Some of the downsides, there's no continuous autofocus with this camera whatsoever, so you are going to be manually punching in everything. Also, this camera has absolutely poor battery life, which brings me to my last con. You are going to have to rig this camera up into some kind of cinema rig in order to get the best out of it. But this is definitely an affordable camera on this list, as you can find this for about $800 on the used market, even as low as $600 or $700 if you look hard enough. The next one on this list is probably the weakest camera in terms of recording options, but arguably the strongest in terms of assist features and usability for filmmakers. And that camera is going to be the Canon C100 Mark II. This is another cinema camera sporting a Super 35 CMOS sensor. You're getting Canon's reliable dual pixel autofocus. You're also getting built-in ND filters, dual SD card slots, and XLR input, as well as Canon's great color science. Some of the downsides to this camera is that it only records in 1080p. If you're someone who's looking into professional work work, this will probably be a deal breaker for you. But for those who are into passion projects, documentary work, event work, things of that nature, this is a very, very capable camera at an affordable price. However, along with the lack of 4K and RAW recording options, it's also the bulkiest camera on this list. But it's a great all-in-one option from a perspective where all you have to do is pick this camera up, slap a lens on it, and go. So you don't have to do any crazy rigging, but in addition to that, it's also the only camera on this list that has built-in NDs, making it able to film in every situation you can think of. And it also uses Canon's EF mount, so there's no shortage of lens options there. And from a price perspective, it's one of the most affordable on this list, as you can find it for as low as about $700 on the used market. The next camera on this list is arguably one of my favorites, which is why I saved it for last. It's a bit of an older camera, but even in 2025, you're not going to get much better than this from a price to performance ratio. And it's also a camera that, despite how many times I change systems, even though it's not my main camera, it's also a camera that I've always seemed to come back to. It's also the camera that's filming me right now, and that camera is going to be the Panasonic Lumix GH5. This is a 20 megapixel micro four thirds sensor, offering the kitchen sink and options, being able to record at 4K 60 frames per second, all the way in 10-bit 422 codec. It has the best 5-axis in-body stabilization on this list. You're also getting dual SD card slots, so there's more reliability there. And it's also one of the only cameras on this list that has a weather-sealed magnesium alloy body. So it's definitely reliable and durable for a multitude of field use. And with it being micro four thirds, you have an affordable lens ecosystem. However, that is also a con because it's smaller than a lot of its full frame counterparts. And this is also another camera that you're not going to get any autofocus with, so you are going to be doing a lot of manual focusing. However, with that being said, this camera offers every assist feature you can ask for, from focus peaking to histograms. The only assist feature I believe this camera doesn't have is false color. It's also the most affordable camera on this list, sitting at about $500 to $600 on the used market. And with the standard of quality going up for a lot of content, honestly, in my opinion, there's just not that many cameras out there that offer 10-bit 4K 60 frames per second recording at a $500 price point, making this, in my opinion, the absolute best camera in 2025 for beginning filmmakers and prosumer filmmakers out there. Hopefully this video sort of simplified the search for you guys. It's been a while since I put some stuff out, but I wanted to do something to kind of help sort of you budget filmmakers that are kind of like me, who want a lot more value for the dollar that they invest into their gear. But that's enough of me talking, guys. I appreciate everybody that made it this far. If you found any value in this, get a like and subscribe for me. It really helps me put out more content for you guys like this. If you feel like there's some cameras I may have left off this list, or you disagree with anything I mentioned in this video, put it in the comments. Let's have the conversation. But listen, thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. And just remember, the only reason that piece of content you want isn't out is because you haven't pressed record. See you guys on set. Peace out.